Hello there and happy Friday. I hope that you are doing okay today and that all of you who joined us at Thursday Night Hangout, just want to say thank you. It was really a wonderful hangout. We did about 3 hours. We were there last night, 60 or more people, I think. And it was great. That final hour, if you missed it, that got real fun and funny. I'll share a link to last night's hangout in today's subscriber email if you want to watch it or relive it. It always helps rejuvenate me and apparently a lot of you as well. It's Friday and I don't have the news segment today. Normally I've got headlines and a clip show for you, but today I'm getting right to my conversation with my guest, Skye Perryman, who is the president and CEO of a very important organization working hard as much as any other to save whatever is left of our democracy. It's Skye Perryman joining me for the first time on today's show to talk about the very important work that they are doing, including a suit that their organization just filed to get the government to produce the Epstein files. Really interesting, very important, and if you're not familiar with the organization Democracy Forward, I can tell you some of the things that they have done you might be familiar with or not, but they are doing amazing work trying to save democracy. They've helped restore funding to AmeriCorps, restore funding to Department of Justice Violence Against Women Act grants. They've helped restore funding for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault at HHS and housing and urban development. They've restored annual funding for public schools across the nation. They got the national funding freeze blocked. They got the HHS Office of Refugee Resettlement child separation rule blocked, and so much more. Lots of wins for the amazing folks at Democracy Forward, and I'm real happy to have Skye Perryman, who's a very smart, courageous, and effective lawyer who is leading this organization. I think you should go support them and follow them on all social media. If you can, send them money. They are a nonprofit, and that is what I'm bringing for you here on a Friday. If you want to watch this, you can watch it at YouTube, youtube.com/standupwithpete, which is also where I interviewed the great Joy Reid yesterday, and that is up as well. I'll share links to both those in today's show notes, as well as all of the links to this amazing organization, Democracy Forward. Hope you like it. Thanks so much for listening and pressing play on today's episode. Let's do it. Yeah. Wow. There she is. Very excited to be talking to this very important lawyer and leader. And Skye Perryman, welcome to Stand Up for the first time. Thank you so much for joining me and for all the work you and your staff are doing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so important what you guys are doing. Just real quick, you guys have been fighting for democracy since before this election and doing everything you can to help out normal folks who are in all kinds of ways marginalized, losing opportunity, losing funding. Talk a little bit about what you've done. We'll get to the triumphs and stuff, but what you guys are generally purposed to do.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people and communities have what they need, that the government actually works for them as opposed to working against them, that the government tries to solve their problems. And when the government fails in doing that, we take the government to court. So we do that in states like Texas or Arkansas or Florida or Ohio or others, where there are communities that, parents that are trying to understand how they can make sure their kids are going to get a good education, people whose wages aren't fair, right? I mean, we work on behalf of all these kitchen table issues in the states. And then at the federal level, we do the same thing. We believe the federal government should serve people. And so we've been in court a lot since inauguration, almost 100 cases so far. In order to protect people, really on these what we call kitchen table issues, your economic opportunity, your freedom, your ability to raise your kids, to be in a community, to love who you want to love, all those issues.
Kitchen table, I don't even like that phrase. It does such an injustice to the actual work and triumphs that you guys are having, because so few of those things. I mean, like, I just don't feel like women's reproductive rights are kitchen table issues. I mean, these are life and death issues. Don't you think that's a higher stake?
Well, they're life and death issues, but they also affect people's day-to-day lives. I mean, they do affect the ability. Yes, in many instances, these are existential issues for people, and we can talk about all of the work we do there. But for a lot of people, this is also something, it's not just something that's make or break. It's something that affects the day-to-day functioning of their lives? Are you able to go to your doctor and get the care you need? Are you able to go, an older person in your family that might rely on Meals on Wheels? Are they going to get their meals this week? Or is the president going to cancel their funding, right? So all of these things really are, in many ways, very existential issues for people, but they're also, they affect your day-to-day life. Social Security. Is Elon Musk rooting around in your Social Security data? What's going to happen there? We're litigating all of those things.
One of your most recent suits, I guess it was this week, Democracy Forward, the organization you lead, has filed suit in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, asking the court to order the government to produce the Epstein files in an expedited manner as required by public records law. Well, why did you need to do that? Aren't they coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, well, first of all, we actually asked the government to produce its communications. What the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the White House have all been talking about what's going on the cover up here, right? Why has this taken so long? If the president ran on a conspiracy theory, is all about the Epstein files. What's been going on? What types of conversations are happening? What is the cover up? That's one of the things the American people deserve to know and need to know. And so that's what our suit is doing. And the main thing we want individual people to know is you have a lot of rights still. The president can't take all of these rights away, and you do have the right to know what your government is up to. And because the government didn't respond to our request as they were supposed to, we're suing them, and we will force them to respond.
What's the precedent for suing the government for their communications? Because if you were to get that, I mean, I'd like to think, I don't know if I said I'd like to think, but that they don't put those communications in documents that you could obtain in text messages and emails or something like that. But what's the precedent for getting communication from the government? I know how it works in the local areas. We've done that with our public education fights here. But what do you hope?
We get them all the time. You would think that people wouldn't put things in emails or documents or messages, but they do, especially this administration. In the last Trump administration, the administration cut off funding for lots of communities across the country. Nobody knew why they were doing it. It wasn't a big Oval Office announcement. And we started filing these requests for communications. Government didn't respond. We sued them. We forced those communications into the sunlight. And what we found was a range of really special interests and very ideological interests trying to influence the government, pushing the Trump administration into certain positions. We don't know what we're going to find here. We think what we're going to find is a lot of concern that the White House has about the president's own involvement potentially, about what it's trying to do to cover that up. So we're after those communications. The Freedom of Information Act is the law that we're suing under. And, in many instances, we can get those communications.
I mean, I was about to ask you what you hope to find specifically. I mean, who do you think is talking about what? I mean, this is a crazy, crazy story. You guys have done so much good work at Democracy Forward on so many, as you mentioned, existential issues and kitchen table issues and so on. But this one is wild because of the salaciousness of it, because of the high profile of it, and because of the potential implications of the most powerful person in America, the President of the United States, in it. What do you think's in there? What do you hope?
Look, we want to understand what the White House was communicating to agencies like the Department of Justice and the FBI. Now, you may say, well, what do you mean? They're not really supposed to, the political folks aren't really supposed to be communicating to these agencies that are supposed to be operating with some degree of independence. Well, we are far beyond that in this administration. This is an administration that is politicizing all of these agencies. The White House believes it has business in all of these things. And we do believe that there are communications. The government had the opportunity in response to our request to say that there were not, and it didn't. But we haven't gotten those, and we haven't gotten them on the time frame that we believe is required under the law. And so that's why we sued, and we will keep you updated as we learn more. The court's already set a pretty, good schedule for briefing on the questions. And so we're going to continue to aggressively pursue the case.
You will, and you filed a suit, and we'll see what happens in this court. But what also happens is supposed to happen tomorrow. I mean, I believe the Congress is is supposed to be releasing these documents, or the Department of Justice is supposed to be releasing documents. All the speculation is that it will be in drips and drabs and it will be redacted and we won't learn anything. But what is supposed to happen?
So that's what they're saying, is that they're going to start releasing. We'll all believe it when we see it. But I think what one thing that we are very interested in, as I mentioned, is not just the underlying documents. I mean, that's been the president's whole thing. He's created this conspiracy theory around the documents. I think people need to go out and get the documents. We want to know what's gone on here, right? What's happened? This was like their big issue where they said they were going to immediately come in, be transparent, release these things. Now they haven't. There's been multiple layers, we believe, of cover up. And so we're going to be after those things too. And I think we're going to have to use the courts to get them.
You believe, you're so precise in your language, you're a lawyer, but you believe there's multiple layers of cover up. Could you just unpack what you...
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you have memos at the Department of Justice that will have drafts and communications that will show that the Department of Justice was sort of playing around trying to figure out what to do in light of being concerned about who in the administration was implicated. I think you have the White House talking with these agencies, which again, the White House press office is not really traditionally supposed to do, but they do it here. We think, we know the president sort of brags about how he has these agencies in his pocket. I think you've got communications between the DOJ and the FBI. There's been many reports and credible information already out there, but people haven't seen a lot of the documents. And so that's what we're after. And again, if the government doesn't have any of these records, it could say that. It hasn't. And so we're in court and going to force the release of them.
Just say a little bit more about the relationship and the legality and the historical precedent of the White House, the administration, communicating with or giving directives to the Justice Department. Yes. It's there's no law against it, is my understanding. It's norms that have been broken. But the President of the United States is not supposed to call up the Attorney General and tell him or her to prosecute or to do anything at all. In fact, it looks bad if they're even in a room alone together. I mean, not since, it's like JFK's brother was the Attorney General, RFK. He's probably rolling over as we speak in his grave, looking at what his son is doing to the government. But I mean, that was a pretty bad situation. It would seem to have your brother be the Attorney General. But generally since then, we haven't really seen that case, that relationship. As a matter of fact, I think like Bill Clinton got on Loretta Lynch's plane, who was Obama's last AG, and people went wild that they were talking because Hillary Clinton was under investigation or something like that. But why does that matter, and what has happened? Because our conscience is shocked every day so much that it seems like we've become immune to almost reacting to some things. But I feel like this is a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's something that should concern every American. I mean, we believe, and the vast majority of Americans believe, that no person should be above the law. The Department of Justice's obligation is to protect and represent the American people. And, and there have been times that the Department of Justice has had and does look into what the president himself is doing. There are times where the Department of Justice obviously has to look into and be very concerned with what federal agencies that are, agencies that are appointed, their heads are appointed by the president, just like the Department of Justice is doing. And all of that has really been at arm's length. And the independence of the Department of Justice is super important because, like, if we don't have confidence that in our government there's a fair process, right? And in our government that the agency that's supposed to be representing the people is really doing that work, if we don't have that confidence, or if there's, high levels of corruption, that's really problematic overall. This administration, though, has been very blatant. I mean, about, from day one, that he was going to sort of consider the Attorney General as personal attorney. The president gave a speech in March in the Great Hall of the Department of Justice that was, highly politicized. You have 2/3. I mean, we're seeing reports 2/3 of the attorneys that have worked in that federal programs branch that defends the government, they've left, either been fired or left because this administration doesn't want people who sort of feel an obligation to the Constitution, who feel an obligation to the American people. They want people who feel a loyalty obligation to the president alone. And it's really inappropriate and concerning. And I think that's one of the reasons we filed this case. I mean, just to be clear, I think you're going to see that really on display with how the Department of Justice has been engaging with the White House with respect to the Epstein files. But we know that this is happening in a lot of other contexts too.
There's a lot of different ways this could go with the court that you filed this case to get these Epstein files in. What are maybe the couple of most likely outcomes?
Well, so we started by suing on this request for expedited processing. The wheels of justice can be too slow at times, and the law recognizes that. And when there are issues that have exceptional media interest or public interest, the law actually provides that the government has to quickly respond to these requests, which the government did not. You might ask, why is that? It's actually all about this trust, right? Like if people are super concerned about what's going on and they can't get answers from their government, that's really concerning. So the first kind of piece of this case will be around expedited processing. Then we will start litigating around the documents itself. The judge has already issued an order moving the schedule. So we should have something to report to you in the next few weeks. And
awesome.
We'll see if you want to have us back.
Yeah, we'll definitely do. But the question you mentioned, the president treating the attorney general like his personal lawyer. I mean, isn't his actual personal lawyer a guy named Todd Lange, the deputy attorney general?
Well, so this is the other piece, is he's obviously appointed a lot of his loyalists all over the Department of Justice and other agencies. You've seen reports now about new moves at the FBI even. Yep. And so, look, I don't have words for it. We don't have ways to make sense of it other than this is a president that largely has done what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to be a dictator on day one. He said he was going to govern sort of through this loyalty. And that's what we've seen. And it's really going to be up to the American people as everyone is waking up to this reality to push back. And that's one of the highlights of our work, which you and I were talking about before we went live. But we have seen in our work every day that the pushback can be very successful. We have stopped this administration in its tracks, almost every single week in significant ways that, of course, do not alleviate all the pain that people are feeling at this time, but that have alleviated a lot of hardship for many people. And that's the lesson, is we all have to do what we can do to push back.
It's such a hard negative to prove, but your organization and others like it, Democracy Forward, things seem so bad every day, but things would be so much worse.
Correct.
Without it.
Which is like not the most inspiring thing, but yes, it's true. Yes.
I mean, it's I got to find ways or how to frame that because it's not the most inspiring thing, but it matters so much, the work that you're doing and the triumph, the wins that you guys have had, because things could be a lot worse for a lot more people, for the environment, for everything. So, just getting back to the Todd Blanche thing. So this guy goes in the Epstein thing and talks to Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruited and groomed and, tons of girls and dozens of, she's in prison for a long time. That he doesn't bring another prosecutor. First of all, that's unprecedented that someone of his level would do that. Second of all, he did it alone, which is real weird, for like hours. And then the conclusion seems to be she's now in a minimum security prison. Unprecedented. Are you going to try to get the files on the conversations between those two, what the order was for him and
Yeah, look, we're after all of the communications. We're after the cover-ups. We know we're going to find when these things get turned over, a lot of information that, that people have the right to know, that the administration is hiding from. There are certain, exemptions. You'll see lawyers get on and debate about, well, can you really, you said you watched some of my interviews. Some of these lawyers are like, well, can you really get that? Can you really get this?
Yeah,
I mean, the bottom line is this administration has claimed that it is the most transparent administration in history. And we have seen just the opposite. We have seen them try to hide in the shadows on many of the things that the American people care about. They are trying to hide in the shadows here. By the way, they're hiding in the shadows on reproductive health care and abortion, which is really important to so many people post Roe v. Wade being overturned. They're doing a lot of this dirty work sort of behind the scenes in ways, and then they're creating public spectacles and other ways to distract people. So we're after all of it, and I do think that we'll get it. We have a track record of being able to uncover a lot of these documents through the courts, and I think it's great that Congress and the American people are pushing too, because we know that the courts aren't the only thing that can fundamentally help get this transparency.
Yeah. I mean, what should we be doing? You guys, you and your lawyers and everybody else at your organization are working really hard in all the legal parameters. We're out here in the streets. We're writing letters. We're sending money to organizations like yours and so on. I guess let me ask you this. What should we in media be doing? I've seen that you make a lot of appearances on all kinds of different shows, which is so great, so awesome that you make yourself so available because you're such an excellent communicator. But I mean, we need to be covering the work that your organizations are doing so that everybody knows that something's happening. One of the things that has always bothered me about, the gun safety movement, the I don't know what people want to call it, but the Moms Demand and so on movement is that there are huge triumphs at the state level. People constantly say after every shooting, nothing ever changes, nothing ever gets done. Bullshit. At the state level, there are state laws that protect people all the time against all kinds of gun violence. It's the federal government that hasn't been able to do anything or pass any legislation. So same thing here. You guys are doing stuff every day, but people get cynical and think nothing's going to change or punch out. What should we in media be doing?
So we need the media, and this is why we so appreciate you. But we need the media. We need the traditional media. We need new media. We need the media to actually look at what's going on and to resist and defy really this talking points culture of here is today's crisis. We're going to cover today's crisis. The whole world is falling apart. The bottom line is things aren't going well for people in this country, and they haven't been going well for some time. Yeah. Okay, this isn't something that just started on Inauguration Day, although it got a lot worse, and people are waking up to it. And what we're finding and what we see and what our work shows, but not just our work, the letters and calls people are making, those are making a difference. We've seen the president flip-flop on a number of issues in face of public pressure. I believe that there's going to be political consequences for what's happened with the big bill. You've seen, a lot of pushback around many issues that matter to people, and those are making a difference. And yet the media doesn't cover it. We get told at times by mainstream outlets, well, we're not sure if we're going to cover this court case because, no one's died. I mean, I'm not kidding. This is what an outlet said. We haven't really seen, people are getting harmed, but no one's really died yet. And so that might not be as interesting because the cycle, this addiction to these crises. So we definitely want to cover what people are doing to stand up. And then the realities of, it's really bad. That's fine. There's so much that can be done.
I get so bothered by organizations, media outlets, and producers, et cetera, that don't cover things because of any number of reasons. Usually it's because it was not going to get enough ratings or something like that. But I also get tired when organizations like yours and every other amazing organization out there doesn't realize how independent media can do the exact opposite. Like, call me, we'll do this for 5 minutes, we'll put it out on social media, and more people will see it than would have seen it.
100%. Yeah, and you've seen that. I mean, that's why I spend so much time on I think we're calling it new media these days. It's really the media. I mean, if you look at where people are getting their information. People are getting their information from shows like yours. They're getting their information from social media. And I think it's really important for orgs like us to be in those spaces. But this is really disruptive. And I'll say, look, we do a lot of traditional media too. It's important for some audiences, but even those audiences, they're taking it in online, and more people in many instances are watching and listening to things like this. So we really, we're all in. We're all in. We'll come back anytime. We're all in on the new media stuff, and it's been very helpful for our work. And I just will say this, when you say, what can people do? There's a lot of folks that are tuning in. Some of those folks create content. They amplify things. That's been super helpful for our work. We've had community members. We've had people across this country call us. A guy called us the other day. A Little League kid was taken out of a Little League trip because of an immigration issue where his family was here legal. Is totally terrible. And he found out about us from the types of work we're doing on new media. So I think it's really important. We really appreciate.
So people should contact Democracy Forward and legal groups like it when some injustice occurs in their community. I think people don't realize the power that they have. Like, you could just be witnessing something one day, be an anonymous person. The next day, Skye Perryman could be talking about this case everywhere.
Or suing. Like, we have people that call us and then we go to court and we stop things. And so if people, there's a lot of folks that are still getting federal programs that they rely on, things like Meals on Wheels community programs that people don't even realize. All of that's been stopped by us and our colleagues in the court. The president is facing a lot of pressure on immigration issues. This is supposed to be his big issue. Now people are seeing this for what it is. Nobody wants to get snatched up in the street. All of that's because we've been able to get into court, and it's because people are contacting us. Yeah, you guys have done a lot of work on the space trying to help immigrants. Mention one example of something that you've accomplished there. One of my favorite cases that we have, because I just think it's offensive, that what the administration has done is offensive to all Americans, regardless of their views on immigration policy, is we are representing religious communities, and we have won a court order keeping ICE from entering their houses of worship during, funerals or worship services or other places where people are not engaging in communal worship in this country, which was founded on the ideals of the ability of worship because of ICE's indiscriminate operations. We filed a second case to try to win a court order for more religious organizations. I think whether you're on the right, whether you're on the left, whether you're in the middle, whatever you are, those types of things, we know they shock the conscience, and we're out there. We're out there for a lot of folks, representing a lot of folks that have been removed from the country without process, alongside our friends at the ACLU. And those cases have woken the American people up. A lot of the opponents of the work and similar organizations on different sides of it fashion themselves, or maybe they don't, but they're pretty obviously kind of what I call Christian nationalist legal organizations. They're very powerful. They're very well funded. They're very organized. They overturn Roe v. Wade. They're doing all kinds. They're now speaking on behalf of Jewish people, apparently, as well. A Christian group trying to defend Jewish people. But what do you have to say? Like, what about those organizations? Those legal organizations that I call them Christian nationalists. I don't know how you shorthand them. Yeah. Look, I mean, you can call them Christian nationalists. You can call them religious fundamentalists or religious hardliners. These organizations are not about religious liberty, and they're not about the ability of every single person in this country. Every single person in this country has the right to believe as they choose, to live as they choose, right? They're not about that. They want to impose one rigid view on the rest of society. And that is un-American. It is unconstitutional. But they're highly funded. They're very organized. They seek to create culture war issues to make people believe that they are more divided than they really are. The vast majority of the American public has always supported as a legal matter the ability of people to obtain reproductive health care, contraception, abortion, what they need. Maybe people have different personal views about it, different views about what they would wish for themselves or their families. But as a legal matter, the majority of Americans understand freedom. These organizations have lost the plot. They've convinced people that there's this great polarization. They were so effective in it that after Dobbs, people were shocked. They were like shocked. What do you mean Kansas is rejecting a ballot initiative? What do you mean that Missouri is passing a ballot initiative in deep red Missouri? Yes, because we've always known that the American people believe this way. And so my ask for everybody, you said, what can media do, but what can people do, is to remember that on the issues, we are much more aligned than many of these groups, and including the White House, but also their allied groups, want us to believe, and to try to defy some of this culture war stuff, and to get out there and do real things, and talk to real people, be real people. And I know that we can defeat what's happening in our country if we do that together. What keeps you going, and how come, or are you afraid for yourself, for your family? Well, I think that you can't have courage if you're not a little bit afraid. And at Democracy Forward, we and our team really pride ourselves on trying to model courage and to create community. But how I answer that question is to say, however afraid one may be of showing up into court against the president or speaking out in a time. I live in Washington, D.C. There's people occupying the city right now. That's where many of our team members live. Not all of them, but many of them. Some are in L.A. and have already faced this. Whatever that fear is, the cost of not acting in this moment is far worse and is far more scary and is far more costly, because these folks they're after it all. You know, they don't want a free country where everybody can believe and live as they choose. They don't want people and communities in this country to thrive. And so whatever the cost of our work, however scary that may be, we can muster some courage, because it's a whole lot worse if we do nothing. And that's what we want all people to know.
That's a great answer, as are all of your answers. Democracyforward.org. You can give them money. They're a nonprofit, of course, but the easiest thing that everybody can do is go join their mailing list. It might sound like you've been on a million mailing lists, but I say you don't care about democracy if you're not on the mailing list of Democracy Forward. How's that?
That's great. We don't spam people. We don't spam you. And you can also get in touch with us. There's ways to email us through that if there's stuff that you want us to look at.
Keep up the great work. It's so inspiring, you and all of your colleagues there. And I'm so grateful to have you joining me here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Skye. That was awesome. She's great. And more importantly, the work that she and her organization are doing is so vital to our democracy, and whatever is left of it. And if we want to get anything back from it, it's Democracy Forward. That's the name of our organization. And I highly recommend you go check them out. Follow them on social media. Thanks, Skye, for joining me. Thank you to longtime listener Cindy, who actually went above and beyond and emailed Skye Perryman thanking her for joining me. And she got back to her, which was really cool. Thanks, Cindy. You're the best. Great to see you and everybody else last night. Hopefully you can go watch the Hangout if that's something that you'd be interested in. I think it'll help you feel more connected, less lonely, more inspired for the most part, I hope. I mean, you know, we get serious and we have an honest conversation there always, but lots of laughs as well. That's all I've got for you today. I think I'll be back tomorrow with Christian Finnegan to wrap up the week. But watch me tonight on CNN at 10 p.m. live. I'll be joining the table with Abby Phillips and the rest. All right. That's it. Good luck. Have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. The place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way a voice inside. And listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.